So you got a new puppy.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, and you had Elliot for 3 days?
Since Sunday, so uh,
Okay.
days now, I guess.
Yeah. So how are things going so far?
Um, so far, pretty well. I think, I don't know. I know you spoke with Tanya a little bit, right? Or
Mhm.
been texting. Um, and so he's doing really well with a lot of things. Some of the things that I know we want to make sure we work on are getting him comfortable in the crate at night, right? Make sure that we can have him in there if we need to, go out of the house and not have to take him with us.
Right.
Um, Obviously, the standard of kind of commands and potty training and what have you. He's been doing well, with potty training in terms of like, getting on a routine, whether it's really translated into telling us that he has to go outside, just, making sure that he holds it until he goes outside on his schedule, is something that, probably is something that still needs to be transitioned into.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. And he's just a puppy. So we're going to have to work on him with that. And we're actually going to go over house training today. That tends to be one of the top things that everybody always has the most challenges with. When everybody gets a puppy, there's tons of things that they're struggling with. But house training tends to be one of the top ones because, well, let's face it, nobody wants to clean pee and poo in the house. so, so that's actually one of the things that we're going to actually start with today. And I am going to share my screen with you. Da, da, da.
Come here. Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
Okay, give me 1 second. Let's see what's going on here. Do-do-do. There we go. Okay. Sometimes it just likes to be difficult. All right. Can you see my screen?
I can. Thanks.
Perfect. Excellent. Yeah. So we're going to go over house training today. And I'll definitely address one of the things that you said right off the top is how he hasn't, really given you any signals or you're not sure about any signals. And some dogs just don't give signals. There's not a lot of dogs that will bark to let you know that they have to go out. There's not a lot of dogs that will go to the door and whine. Some will, some won't. Some dogs, they might go to the door and scratch at it, but if we're not there to see it, we're going to miss it anyway.
Yep.
My dogs actually don't give us a lot of signals to go out. Not that they don't have any, they're kind of subtle because when we started house training, they didn't actually really have to tell us when they had to go out because we were very diligent with the house training schedule. And even with the dogs being older now, so Cooper's now 11, one of our other dogs passed and we have a new dog, they don't actually have to ask us to go out because we're on a schedule ourselves. So our dogs tend to be on a schedule. When we wake up in the morning, the first thing we do is, we let our dogs outside. And then we bring them inside and we feed them. And then depending on our day, if we have to go into the office, we're going to give our dog the opportunity to go out again before we go and leave for the day. Or we're going to let them go out before we get settled in to do some work. And then when we get up and we move about the house and we're doing things and our dogs are up, I ask my dogs if they have to go out again and I let them out. So my dogs have lots of opportunity to go out during the day. Even when I was out of the house more, I would get up, let my puppies out or my dogs out, come back in, get ready for work. Then I'd let them out again to empty before I left. And then I'd be gone for a period of time and I'd make sure I could get home and get my dogs out again. So then I'd ask them to go out and we'd go outside and we'd potty. And then I'd be home for an amount of time, depending on when my next session was. Then I'd leave and I'd ask them if they have to go out again if I was home longer. And then when I'd come home again, I'd ask them if they have to go out again and I'd let them out again. And then when I was making their dinner, they'd go out again while I was making their dinner. And then we'd probably let them out again when we were getting ready to settle in for the evening and then again out before bed. So our dogs really don't have to ask us to go out because we afford them the opportunity to go out at kind of all the key times. So they do have signs and they do have tells. Some are a little more subtle than others. Cooper, he likes to go walk and stand in front of the door. If you're not in front of the door or anywhere near the door, you won't know he's there. But he generally doesn't do that unless I'm kind of in that vicinity anyway.
Right.
He'll lay down and he'll hang out. And then if I get up and I mill around, he'll go. And then he'll be in front of the door and I'll see him over there and I'll say, gotta go out. And of course he does, he's by the door.
Yeah.
If I am giving him the opportunity to go out, say I've gotten up and down a bunch of times and I feel like he hasn't been out for a while, I'll say, gotta go out. And if he does, he'll go trot over to the door and he'll stand there and wait for me to open it. If I say, gotta go out, he'll stand there and look at me, nope, just hanging out with you. Just seeing what we're doing. So
Yep.
some dogs don't give us these big telltale signs. For me personally, and it varies by person, I don't love it when a dog barks when they have to go out, because if a dog barks when they have to go out, chances are they're going to bark about a lot of other things, which
Right.
means I got a barking dog. And I love dogs. My least favorite, barking dogs and dogs who jump. So I don't even want to see those things in my own dog. So I'm okay if my dogs don't bark to go out, because again, if they do bark to go out, that generally means, well, they're going to bark at everything else they want me to know about, and I don't want to hear that early in the morning or late at night or anytime during the day. My neighbors don't want to hear it either.
So, Kelly, just wanted to jump in. Tanya says she's trying to join the Zoom, but maybe you have to let her in.
Oh, hang on a second. Let me pop back out of there because I'm in a different screen now. So I'm not seeing anybody waiting to get in. There we go. All right. Are you there, Tanya? There you go. Hi. Can you hear us?
I can now, yes. Hi.
Okay, great. Perfect. Let me get rid of this little box here. Excellent. I just want to make sure you can see my screen.
Yes, I can.
Excellent. Great. So we were just getting ready to dive in. I was just talking about how some dogs don't always give us signals to go out. So what are the secrets to house training? Well, everybody's always disappointed to learn that there aren't any. There are no great secrets. It's just having a really good plan in place and supervise, and consistency and routine. The plan sounds simple and easy enough. The challenge is always the execution. So we're going to get into some of those things. And everybody's always disappointed when I tell them there's no great big secret. So when do we take our puppies out? How do we get a successful house training routine? Well, the one that everybody always gets right is taking our puppies out as soon as they wake up in the morning. That's always the obvious one. We know when our puppies get up, they most likely have to go because they've been sleeping all night, hopefully. So we want to make sure we get them out right as soon as they wake up. Anytime he wakes up from a nap during the day, this is a lot of the ones that people miss. Our puppies, and he's a little bit older, so he might not have to go out as soon as he wakes up, but in order to help with your house training schedule, to get him knowing where he's supposed to go and get him solidly house trained, you still want to follow this. An 8-week-old puppy can't hold it as long as a 4-month-old or a 5-month-old puppy. However, a 5-month-old puppy who hasn't really learned house training yet or hasn't learned it fully still needs to go out often, because the more successful potties they have outside, the faster your house training process is going to go. The more potties they have inside, then they're learning that pottying in here is much better than pottying in the wet grass. Pottying in here is way better than going out in the rain. Pottying in here is better than going out in the cold and the wind. And let's face it, who would not rather go to the bathroom in a nice, warm, cozy, or cool environment rather than the heat or cold or rain? So,
Especially the winter coming, right?
yeah, you're lucky you're not house training over the winter. We've trained many of puppies over the winter. It's the same thing. It's just that, it's cold. And when you're trying to get your puppy out quick, especially if you have a much younger puppy, I've run outside many a times with no shoes on in the freezing cold with cold feet and toes, because there's sometimes just no time when you have a tiny puppy to get those shoes on. When I actually have a puppy in the wintertime or a season where I need shoes more than others, I will buy a disposable pair at Walmart that I don't care if they're too big or how ugly they look, as long as my feet can slide in them. They sit right in my garage. Never have to look for my shoes, and I can just slide my feet in. So yeah, as soon as he wakes up from a nap, and this sometimes can be a little challenging because sometimes we take our puppies out and they might take a nap for about 20 minutes or 30 minutes and then they get up and we think, well, they were just out, so they're okay. When we're house training, we still want to get those puppies out because they'll usually still have to eliminate a little bit. They're learning bladder control. At this stage, Elliot probably has more bladder control than the average puppy, but he's still not sure where to go in your house and what to do. as soon as you let him out of his confinement space, whether that's his crate or his X pen or a room that you've got him gated off in, we want to make sure he goes out then. It could be that he's just woken up from a nap and of course needs to go out. It could be that he's really excited and he hasn't been out in a while, and all that excitement is going to usually make him have to go potty. We have well, she's not new anymore. We've had our new puppy, who's a little bit older now. And when we were working on house training before the pandemic, I was coming in and out of the house a lot with in-person appointments. And the general conversation in our house was, when was she last out? When did she go out last? It was a constant thing where we were trying to make sure that even though I just came home, I couldn't assume that she had just gone out. She might have gone out an hour ago, has been sleeping. She might have gone out 20 minutes ago, but I woke her up from a nap when I came in. So anytime we take our puppies out of their safe space, right after your puppy's engaged in some play, a lot of puppies, the younger they are, they'll play and they'll play. In the middle of play, they'll just stop and pee. So we want to make sure we take our puppies out immediately after playing. So if we're having a good old game of tug, we're throwing a ball up and down a hallway, we're running around the house with our puppy, we're being silly with them, we're getting them riled up. We want to get them outside because they will have to go potty after that. And again, the younger they are, the more they have to go. Sometimes you can play with your puppy for 20 minutes. You want to take a break and get them out in about 10 minutes or 15 minutes. So that way they don't potty in the middle of play. Right after your puppy has eaten or drank some water, and this time is going to vary on how long your puppy can hold it. There are some puppies that I've known that you literally feed them and 5 minutes later it's coming out the other side. If you put it in and it's coming right out. Some puppies can hold it 20 minutes. Some puppies can hold it 30 minutes. Some puppies might be able to hold it a little longer. This time will vary depending on your puppy. If you see him sniffing around, so you've had him for a few days now, and he's probably done a lot of sniffing because he's investigating. And that's one of the challenging things about a puppy is they sniff and investigate. So we don't know, are they checking something out or do they have to potty? So being really diligent in our supervision and watching them. Are they just sniffing and investigating, or does this look more like they might have to potty? You're going to get to know his tells a little bit, even if they might not be verbal. You'll know. I can always tell right when my puppy is getting ready to poop because their walk starts to go a little bit different. The tail carriage starts to raise a little higher. Call it the poop tail. We know exactly when that puppy is sniffing around and they're thinking, I'm trying to find my good spots. That tail starts to raise a little bit more before they hunch over. And you're like, yep, I know it. You got to go out, scoop puppy, take them out. You don't have to take him out every 5 minutes, 20 minutes after he drinks water. You're going to want to watch him and see what his schedule is. It's going to be different. We're getting into some cooler weather, so it's going to be a little different. People with puppies in the hot weather, they take their puppy outside, puppy's running. Puppy comes in, drinks a lot of water. Puppy has to go out sooner than they would on a day like today if they were outside playing. They're not going to drink as much. If he's whining, some puppies, as they're starting to figure out the whole house training process, they might let out a little bit of a whine because they're like, oh, I gotta go. I don't know what to do. Don't wait for them to go to the door because they're not gonna probably go to the door. They don't know yet. They're just knowing that I have to kind of go. And he might not whine. Some puppies do. My Cooper, he's 11 now. He's a silent guy. He always has been. He doesn't even bark. His bark is one single woof once in a great big moon. He's just a very laid back, easygoing guy. He doesn't do a lot of vocalizations. If you see your puppy working near the door that you take them out of, they're probably trying to figure out what to do and they're making an effort. Go ahead and take them out. It's really important to always use the same door as well. Consistency is key. If we take our puppies out the same door, the puppy learns this is my potty spot. This is where I'm always going. I should probably go there because I feel like I have to go. The trouble comes when we use different doors. And I have people who do this and then they're wondering why their potty training isn't working so well. It depends on where they are in the house. If they're in the front part of the house where maybe their office is, they might go out the front door. If they're in the back part of the house and it's convenient, they'll go out the slider and in the backyard. If it's raining outside, they'll take the puppy through the mudroom and out the garage and at a different patch of grass. Well, now this puppy doesn't really know where to go because they're going in many different spots and it's not really helping hone the puppy training skills, the house training skills. Any questions on anything so far? I'm throwing a lot at you, fast and furious.
No, we're seeing that. He actually did go to the door this morning and kind of play with his leash and wind a little. So we took him out and he went poop. So
Excellent. Yeah. And he might have a little bit of a head start with his house training. I tell people all the time, literally right before your appointment, I had somebody who has adopted a dog that's 1.5 years old. It's from a neglect case. This dog is 1.5 years old, but never learned to potty outside because he was kept in a crate in a basement, and he's only been able to soil and, in the crate on himself. He has no concept of what outside means. So I tell everybody, whether they just adopted a puppy, an 8-week-old puppy, a 5-month-old puppy, a 9-month-old puppy, a dog that lived with somebody that unfortunately they had to give up due to bad circumstances, maybe their landlord said you can't have a pet and they had to move. Even though that dog was house trained previously, they now probably have had to live in a shelter in some cases where these poor dogs now are like, where do I go? Where do I go? I have to go. Now they've had to learn and they're forced to soil where they're basically sleeping in that kennel run. They may choose to sleep, they may choose to go outside the kennel run to the outside part where that door opens and closes during the day, but they're still having to soil somewhere else. So they still need to learn some house training skills when they come into a home. Even a puppy or an older dog who's learned some house training skills in a foster home, sometimes people are frustrated because they'll say, well, the foster said that they didn't have very many accidents. Well, that's because the puppy was learning where to go and when to go at that house. And now they need a little bit of a refresher in their new home. So that's great that he did that. That's fantastic. When you take your puppy out, you want to take him to the same spot every single time. This is really going to help with your house training. He's going to smell where he's gone before. That urine is going to kind of soak into the ground. He's going to smell it. I love cleaning up my puppy poop when I go outside, but when my puppies are learning, I might leave a pile or two there and then clean it up later and then let another pile go because it's going to entice them. Look, this is the spot I'm supposed to go. So I might not always clean up immediately when my puppy goes. I might leave that pile from this morning and leave it there for later for encouragement and then clean it up later when I've got a nice fresh pile to work with. Stand quietly while your puppy's going potty. When we're house training, we sometimes interrupt the potty process because we're so excited that our puppies have gone to the bathroom. I want you to be a silent cheerleader. We sometimes interfere because, especially people who've had a lot of accidents, when our puppy goes outside, we tend to go, yay, good boy, you did it. Well, now we've probably interrupted that stream and they've relieved themselves just enough to feel like they don't have to go anymore, and they might not have completely emptied. And then when we bring them back in, we find 5 or 10 minutes later, we've had an accident. It's because they didn't empty fully the first time we took them out. So we can be really excited when our puppies are going, but we want to be more of a silent cheerleader. I like to say, good boy, whatever your word is, good potty, good boy, really quiet, encouraging. And then when they're done, I give them a great big yes or good boy. Then I mark it with a food reward afterwards. Our dogs learn by association. We all learn by association. So if we can reward our dogs for the behaviors that we like, they're going to repeat. So every time he potties outside, if you give him a reward, he's going to learn that pottying outside makes good stuff happen. Because if he has an accident inside, he's not going to get anything from us. So he'll learn outside potty makes cheese happen. Outside potty makes leftover piece of pork chop happen. Outside potty makes a piece of hot dog happen. We want to reward our dogs, and we need to reward immediately. Sometimes people will reward their dog when they come back in. So they'll reward them in the kitchen or they'll reward them in the mudroom. What we're doing now is we're actually rewarding the dog for coming in, not for pottying. Anytime we're rewarding our dogs, the rewards, the consequence comes right after the behavior. So if we don't reward right when our puppy goes potty, they don't make the connection that it was for the pottying. They'll make the connection that it was for coming in the house, which is not necessarily awful when we're teaching coming when called. But in this case, we want to make sure the puppy makes the association that pottying outside makes great stuff happen. When you give him his food reward, you want to make sure, like I just mentioned, it's immediately afterwards. And you don't want to be stingy. Make it high value. This is where that milk bone is not going to be any good. That's great to give him because he's cute and you want to give him a treat. It's great to give him at bedtime because my dogs still get a treat at bedtime. We just always gave them a cookie at bedtime for whatever reason. So dry treats are great at bedtime. Dog doesn't care. But when you're trying to make that association, we've got to make it high value. Think about it. If somebody asks you or wants you to do something, there's a price to that for you. What's in it for you? You know, if somebody is going, if somebody said, hey, I'll pay you $50 to, mow my 10 acres, you're going to say, well, that's not even worth it. But if somebody said, I'll give you $250 to mow my lawn, that's a huge motivation for you. So we've got to make it really motivating and associate great stuff with our puppies. If you see your puppies making progress with the house training, you can start fading out those food rewards, but I always encourage everybody, don't fade them out too fast. Don't be stingy. You want to make sure that association is there. When you're finding you're having hardly any accidents at all and your puppy's almost seemingly got it, you can start fading those food rewards out. But in the beginning, you want to dish them out fast and furious, every single potty, because that's where we want to make that association. It will help your process go a little quicker. You want it in the beginning, and for him, you might be able to stretch it. I always suggest taking our puppies out every hour in the beginning. You've had him for a few days now. So in the beginning, if you contacted me, on Monday, I would say, let's get him out every single hour because we don't know his potty habits yet. He doesn't know his surroundings. So you may find that every hour is beneficial for you. You might find that you could take him out every hour and a half. We just want to be consistent and still take him out often, even if he's doing well, because again, the more accidents he has inside, the harder it is to house train because he's going to try to discern where he needs to go. You want to make sure that you feed your puppy on a schedule. I don't recommend free feeding. Most people feed on a schedule, but some people free feed. If you feed your puppy on a schedule, you're going to know when he has to eliminate. I'm going to send you a log and I'm going to suggest you keep one because you'll get to know your puppy's habits, which is going to help you expand that time from taking him out every hour. If you feed him every day at, say, 7 o'clock, you'll know how soon after he eats that he's going to have to eliminate. So that's going to help you buy some time. If we don't know when our puppies go, then we don't have any idea when to take them out. That's when the accidents happen. So getting a really good feel for when our puppies have to go. And it varies, as I said earlier. I've known puppies that as soon as they eat, it basically comes out the other end and you literally are taking them out about 5 minutes after they eat and they have to go badly, like they've been holding it for a long time. Some puppies hold it longer, but knowing that sweet spot of when they have to go out is key. So if you feel and you see that your puppy can, when you keep that log, that your puppy can eliminate about an hour and a half after eating, you want to make sure that you don't stretch it and say, well, my puppy's usually good for about an hour and a half. I think we can make an hour and 45. Go the other way. Take him out in about an hour and 15. Make sure you give him enough leeway that if he does have to go a little sooner, because it's not an exact science, you'll get a feel. He usually has to go about this long after he eats. Knowing that information is really powerful with a house training plan. I'm going to send you a log. You can use the log I send you. It's a little detailed, or you can make your own. Use whatever works for you. If I tell you you have to use my log and you say it's too complex and you're not going to use it, it's not going to help you. I have people who use my log. I have people who just grab the printer paper that they printed accidentally, don't need it, don't want to waste it, and turn it over and make their own log. I have people who keep a notebook. So that way the pages are all in there and you can see over the course of the week how things are going. I have people who completely geek out and they make an Excel spreadsheet all with color-coded columns. So you can get as fancy as you want and you can make it as simple as you want. Let's see there, let me undo the share screen. There we go. Excellent. So any questions on the information that I've given to you? Again, the plan is simple. It's the execution that is the challenge.
Yeah, I don't know if I have any particular questions. I just maybe make a comment and just to kind of echo what Tanya was saying is that, he's been doing pretty well. We actually, knock on wood, have not had any accidents since the first day and a half, right?
Great.
So, so the schedule, getting him out regularly has been working, right? And I think the missing piece of information probably is getting a little bit more clarity as to like when, right? If like that specificity, right? Of, oh, he has to go, 45 minutes after he eats, he's going to have to go somewhere, right? Or, you
Mm-hmm.
know, if it's coming up on 3 hours since he's gone, you better get him out because he's had his limit, right? But we've probably been taking him out, I don't know, 6 to 8 times a day, and it's been working well.
Perfect. And you guys are way ahead of the schedule then, because I get a lot of frustrated puppy parents where they're pottying more inside than outside, is because they're just not getting them out frequent enough. And it can be hard to get our puppies out often. I mean, we're busy, we have stuff to do. Just because we're working from home in a lot of cases because of the pandemic, doesn't mean we're not working. We're still home. What
That's
makes
right.
it easier with puppies is we don't have to worry about having somebody come in and take our puppy out during the day while we're working. We don't have to worry about hiring a pet sitter or a dog walker to come. That we can take off the list. But really knowing his schedule is really important. That's going to help you. Some things that I always suggest, because when working from home, I noticed some people who had puppies and then we transitioned from work to working from home, people would contact me and say, oh, we're regressing in the house training. I don't know what's happening. I'm home more. What's going on? That's exactly what's happening. You're home more and you're busy working. So when your puppy is not up and about as much during the day because you're working and they're resting, they don't have to go as often. But when you're home and everything is more active around the house and they're up and about, they have to go more often because, they're not sleeping as much anymore. A lot of people get frustrated because their puppies will sleep all night. So how is my puppy sleeping 7, 8, 9 hours, but they have to go out every hour during the day? Again, it's very different. Nighttime is very different than daytime. What's happening at night? We're all sleeping. Not a creature is stirring around the house. So our puppies aren't up and playing. They're not eating and drinking. They can, in most cases, make it all night. Some puppies can't. They have to get up in the middle of the night, and that's normal. But during the day, we do have to get them out more often. So a puppy who does sleep all night, people will take that for granted during the day and say, well, they can make it all night. Surely they can make it 3 hours during the day. So they come home and they find puddles and piles, or they're working and then they get up to have lunch and they find puddles and piles. It's because they've stretched it way too long. So you guys are way ahead of the curve on this one already. So kudos to that. So I know, Tanya, you said you never had a puppy before, right?
Never. No.
Yeah. So you guys, I mean, honestly, you never had a puppy before and you're already way ahead of the people who've had puppies before. So you're doing fantastic with that. Yeah. So that is the key. And so with getting back to the people who have more accidents when they started working from home, what I suggest you do, or that people do that can be helpful, is set a timer, because it's really easy to get on a conference call and then hop on another one and not realize how much time has passed. Or finish up with a call and say, I'm just going to do this email real quick. Or, oh, let me respond to that person real quick. Before you know it, another 15 minutes has gone by. And in puppy world, that's a problem. So I'm going to send you my house training handout. It's got even more tips in it than what we've gone over here, such as if you take your puppy out and they don't go and they have to go, or you're pretty sure they have to go, don't assume they don't have to go right away, because most accidents happen about 5 or 10 minutes when you bring them back in. They get distracted when they go outside. The squirrel's in the tree, the bird went by. Sometimes puppies will eliminate enough to relieve that pressure, and then they come in, and then when they're bored inside, they say, oh, I gotta go. And we're not watching because we think that they've gone. So setting that timer is great. And then if they don't go, put them in their confined area so you can keep an eye on them. Don't give them free range of the house. Puppies shouldn't have free range at this stage. They're not ready for it. They're not ready to go nosing around the house and look in the spare room, because when they're up there, they go, oh, this looks like a good spot. And then they'll go. So consistency, supervise, supervise, supervise. And we're going to definitely get into crate training. One of the things I wanted to ask you was, crate training is a super big topic, and so is the puppy mouthing, nipping, chewing, and biting. I thought I would start our next session with crate training, unless you're struggling with the puppy nipping and biting more,
No, the crate training actually would be great because he is very resistant to going in the crate. We've tried to make it like a happy, exciting place, put treats in it, put little things. And I don't know if it's because he's literally was traumatized because he had 3 days in a crate on his trip up from, Texas, and he's associating. But he likes it. He wants to go right outside the crate and sleep right there. And he'll sleep there for the entire night right outside the crate, but he will not stay in the crate.
Okay, great. So I have actually got some great tips for that and some great plans for that. We're going to talk about puppy condo, puppy studio apartment, puppy townhouse. So we're going to find the thing that works best for him, and you may use a couple of these different options. And what I'll do is I'll get it all set up for you. I sent you some dates for next week. So let me know what works well for you. I'll get that. I always set it up in my living room for everybody. So I will put the whole system in place and show you what a good setup is going to be for your puppy. So let me know about the dates that I sent you. And that first session we do next week, I'll make sure that that's all set up for crate training, confinement training.
Perfect.
Excellent. Good.
Thank you.
So I'm going to send you all of this information. If you have any questions, let me know. If you're struggling, let me know. Don't hesitate to call, text, email me. I'll help walk you through what challenges might be or what tweaks we might need to make.
Okay.
Thank you.
Excellent. You're welcome. You guys have a great day.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.